Hello and welcome back to our Down and Dirty mini movies. This is video number 13 in our short film help series, where I basically every week try to bring you short videos highlighting and showcasing different products and product features of the Topcon product portfolio. Now today we're going to be taking a look at the Topcon receiver utility TRU. That's utility we use for receiver managing, and if you take advantage of this, it basically will help your receivers manage them better and hopefully have a better experience out in the field using those receivers. Now I cannot do full training on this. It's really not my job. My job is to showcase the features and expose you to them and hopefully give you a better experience as an end user using the equipment. And if you're sales guys, to basically have these receivers set up in a way that's easier to show and understand. So we're going to be covering 5 topics connecting to the receiver. That sounds basic, but there is different connection parameters, whether we're working with the receiver or the receiver modems and so forth. And we'll see that here in a second. Number 2, we're going to be talking about the Bluetooth receiver identification, in case you want to name the receivers specific names to help identify them. A lot of dealers do that right from the factory or from their offices, naming them Basin Rovers, for example, and I'll show you that. We're going to be looking at the option files, verifying what options we do have, and going through the motions of uploading a new OAF option file. We're also going to be uploading a channel table. We're not going to be creating a channel table, but this is taking it as if the dealer created it for the end user, and upload that channel table and verifying that they are there and changing the channels appropriately. And then last but not least, very importantly, a lot of people don't know how to manage static files and make their life a lot easier, and I'm going to cover some of that as far as sample rates, mask angles, the file name, prefixes, collecting and downloading the data. And we're going to do this pretty quick. So, like I mentioned, this is not full training. It's more of an overview. Always visit our e-learning website for training material. Our professional service group does an excellent job of true training lessons. And there's tons of resources that you can find for specifications on our My Topcon Now app on all the product portfolio. So without further ado, let's get started. Now I want to begin showing you where you can download TRU, TopconPositioning.com support, updates, and TRU. And there's different versions for different software. Plus we also got USB drivers if you don't have them for the HR and so forth. So if you're just running this on a personal computer, for example, or an NFC data collector, use a personal computer version, and I'm going to be using version 3.5 in this tutorial. So to execute the program, just navigate to wherever your shortcut executable file is to get into the program, and we'll double click. And here is Topcon receiver utility. Now these icons will change depending on your connection or application mode. Now if you go to help and about, you'll see what version you're running. I'm running version 3.5, and you definitely need to have the latest version. It would save you a lot of problems if you're connected to newer receivers. Let's go to device, and before we connect to my receiver, we want to check the application mode. We want to connect in whatever managing mode that we're going to be working in. So there's a simple terminal where we can send commands directly to the receiver, receiver managing, modem managing, upload the latest firmware, and if you have a dealer version, you can do some frequency editing. Here we're going to start out with receiver managing. So once that's selected, go back to device and then connect. Now depending on your devices, if you've ever connected to receivers before, you can have a drop down here and you can check, and you should see your particular receiver in the list. Now I've basically started from scratch, and so I can walk you through everything just like it's your first time. So we're going to go over to the Browse button here, 3 dots, click it. I've only got my TV showing up in my list. I'm going to right click and this box will pop up. There's no way to add unless you right click. If you don't know what you want to do in any of our programs, you can't find what you're doing, just right click and see what happens. So we'll click add. We've got a new window here. We'll go back to the Browse button one more time, and then this generates and shows every Bluetooth device that my computer's seeing. So here is my single receiver. So I'll highlight that and then click OK. Now it's in the list. We'll click OK again. Now it's in the list here that we can choose from now on out. We won't have to go quite as deep the next time. Click OK and then connect. Now just to walk through that one more time now, let's disconnect, go to Device, Connect. It's going to show up in the list. There's a lot of real estate here, but down here, right kind of small in the middle bottom, really hard to see on an FC5000, is your Connect button. Now I'm not going to do a complete training on the software. That's not what the purpose of these videos are. They're just down and dirty showing you some of the most popular features. So taking a look at our list, we've connected to the receiver. Let's go to the Bluetooth receiver identification and let's talk about that real quick. So the reason this is important, a lot of people want to name their receivers maybe base and or rover by the Bluetooth name, and you can do that under the receiver settings and go to Bluetooth. Now this is the name, it's normally the serial number of the receiver, and if you wanted to call it base or whatever or rover, you can just rename the whole thing. If you want to maybe just, a lot of people do the first part of the serial number as a base and then the last portions, and all you have to do is hit OK, and we'll close out of here. Now once I disconnect, if you hook this up to, let's say, your data collector for the first time, it's going to see base in the name when you connect to it. But unfortunately, right now, when we go to Device and Connect, you're still going to see this device name because it's really looking at the Bluetooth address. If you want the name base to come up in TRU, you need to refresh it and add it. So I hit the little Browse button, go over to here, let's click Add, browse again, similar to the way when we connected. Now there is the base. So we'll click OK, and OK, and OK, and then down here at the bottom, I'm sorry, let's go back to this, hit OK, and then connect. And from now on out, when you connect, it's going to have the base up here. But you got to go through the motions and refresh it after you name it the first time. Next, let's take a look at our verifying our receiver options, and let's walk through the process of uploading a new OAF option file. So we're going to go to Options. And this receiver has been totally reset. It's just a test receiver that I have. You may have a blank receiver, and you normally have at least GPS L1 shown here. Now if your view does not look exactly like this, just right click, go to View. You may be looking at an overview like this, and then right click and more of a detailed view. So there's different views you can look at. Right now there's nothing current, nothing permanent, everything's no, and nothing's leased. Maybe the detail might be better for this example. So what we're going to do is load our authorization file for this receiver. So I do not see a load So if you're, again, remember, right click if you do not see what you need to click on, and a box will pop up. So we'll hit upload our OAF, and it should come up and show you the receiver identification number, and you should have a file that matches that. So navigate to wherever that is, and this is just a universal file. Yours may look a little bit different. I've just renamed it to that. So it gives you information about the file, so forth, the owner. Down here at the bottom, upload the OAF file to the receiver. Now the changes will take effect after the receiver is basically done with a soft reset. So we're going to click yes. Now at this time the receiver will be doing a soft reset to load the file. Now it's very important that you just don't try to connect right away until it finishes, otherwise it basically will not connect. So let's just wait just a moment. So I've waited about 60 seconds. I'm in the connection parameters. I'm going to connect back to my base receiver, and let's click connect. Alright, let's go back to the options list. And now we have current options on everything. Now this is our permanent. If you purchased options, it would actually, or should say yes for all those. Since I've loaded a universal file, basically I'm leasing these options and they expire 10/10 of 2020. Now if you have permanent files like yeses in these columns, it doesn't matter what your expiration date, your permanent will not go away. Just if they're leased, they will expire on this expiration date. Now you can scroll down through the list and see all your options. Some of the most important ones people look is they add maybe tilt at a later date. If you purchase it, this should change to a yes. And your memory, no restrictions, and all the data. So that's how you load your universal, or basically your OAF file. Next, you want to basically verify you've got channel tables, and if you don't have channel tables, you need to upload this. If you're a dealer, you can create them from a dealer version. If you're an end user, from your dealer, they ought to supply you with a file, and that's where we'll start with our particular video. So we're still in receiver managing, so we're going to go to device, and let's change our mode. I've disconnected, and let's set this to modem managing. Then we'll go to device, and let's connect. We're going to be connected to the base receiver, to the internal modem, modem A, and let's connect. And it's going to read the modem receiver here. Icons will look a little bit different than the application mode. We just have the one icon here of settings. So let's go to settings. And you have three tabs up here. This is the general tab, tells you what type of radio that you have, firmware and so forth. Under your settings, it's going to basically read the settings of the receiver's modem. And here we can see the baud rate, flow control, channel spacing, the rover frequency, base frequencies, modulation, and so forth. Now 90% of this probably will be controlled through your data collector, but from here we can at least you click on the channel here, and this is actually a drop down, and you can see that I've only have 2 channels to choose from. These are the itinerant. These channels have been around since I can remember, and I would never stay on 464.5 or 464 5500 that you see here. you really need your own channel table. So we need to basically load our channel table. So we'll go to Functions, and under Function we will select our function. We can do a factory reset, or we can upload a file. So let's click on Upload a File, and here is another hidden drop down, and if you double click in here it will bring up your Explorer so you can search, and we're going to load our R2L channel table list. We'll click Open, and now Execute, and now our channel label has been uploaded. So let's go back now to our settings, and we will verify that our channel table is loaded. We'll come to our frequencies, click in this box, and now we have our complete list to choose from. And let's pick a different frequency, 461.0250, something like that, for example. And then the red button here, write these settings to the modem, so it will program the radio to receive and transmit on the frequency that you just chose. And that's all there is to it. We can escape out, go to Device, and disconnect. So last but not least, we're going to be covering static file managing, collection and downloading of raw static data. So we're basically, this is the mode of managing we were in, so let's make sure we disconnect. Let's go back to the device and make sure we're back to receiver managing, and let's reconnect to our base receiver. Alright, now all your files, naming and procedures is all affected under the File Explorer. So we'll go to File Explorer, and we're going to be looking at the Logs tab and the Files tab. Now apparently there are several configurations you can do for static, but you know, just the main control, pushing a button with your hand, and I think from the data collector is this settings for A. Now as we look here, the file name prefix is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then for the different ones there's different prefixes. So that's going to be the beginning of the file naming, and then this is the sample rate it's going to be collected at, period, and some of the other information here. Under Files, this is where your files would be located. Now I'm going to reach down to the receiver, and I'm going to press the power button 3 times. 1, 2, 3. Now the receiver should start locating and collecting raw data, and a file was created right here. And if you notice, the file name prefix 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and this is October the 6th, 10:06. Yep. And this is the file size that it's logging data. Now it's logging data once every second. All right. I'm going to stop the receiver. I'm going to press the button 3 times. 1, 2, 3, and I've stopped logging data. Now, the reason I want to do this is I want to go back to logs, and I want to highlight number A, and let's double click on it. So there's settings that we can modify here. We can change the default mask angle. We'll leave it low. The file name prefix is what I want to change. I'm going to change this to base. So every file that my base receiver collects is going to have a name called the base, and then the date. And then I'm also going to change my sample rate. You can check your core stations and see what they collect at. A lot of them will collect at 5 seconds or 10 seconds. You'll save a lot of file storage by matching your sample rate, and your download time will be quite a bit lower because your file is 1/10 the size that it would be if you left it at 1 second. So I'm just changing the name and the sample rate. I'm leaving everything else the same. I'm going to click OK, and then I'm also going to click OK again to get out of this and then go back into it. So I'm going to go back into File Explorer. I'm going to click on Files. Now this is the file I created just a minute ago. I'm going to reach down to the receiver and press the power button 3 times. 1, 2, 3. And now it's going to start creating a file with the name base, with today's date, and then your file size is only going to be written once every 10 seconds, and the file would be a lot smaller and easier to download later on. But by naming the receivers, you can keep track of which points they're on a lot easier than by some crazy default name that comes up. Now to download, let me stop collecting data. You can just highlight the particular file, right click, say download, and then just navigate to the directory you want it to be stored in. And then from there you can upload it to the NGS's Opus website, for example. You know, I have a folder called Opus, and a lot of times I'll make a new folder for maybe today's date or the point I was on and so forth. And we'll save that file into that folder. So I hope you enjoyed this down and dirty quick video on TRU. If you have suggestions for future videos, please drop me a text or email or call, and we'll see what we can do. Thank you for watching.